In this video, I'm going to show you how to become a blockchain expert without coding. And this is a little known secret that hardly anybody does, but I think if you do this, this will actually help you become a better blockchain developer. So before we get into that, if you're new around here, hey, I'm Gregory from Dapp University, and on this channel, I teach you how to become a blockchain master. So if that's something that you're interested in, then click the like button down below and click subscribe. And if you're serious about becoming a blockchain developer, then you should head on over to dappuniversity.com/bootcamp. So how can you become a blockchain expert without writing any code? Well, the secret to doing this is actually to look at and read through other people's code. And the crazy thing is, this can actually make you a better blockchain developer. So I'm going to explain why in this video, and I'm also going to walk you through like how to do this and implement it yourself to, increase your own blockchain skills. So let me tell you why you should do this. Well, part of coding is just understanding ideas and concepts, right? It's basically pattern recognition. And the more ideas and patterns that you can recognize, when you look at code and, connect them to concepts in your brain, the more fluent you'll be, with a programming language and with the technology, and ultimately a better developer. So when you look at other people's code and actually read through it in depth, you'll be introduced to all kinds of new things. Like maybe there's aspects of a programming language that you haven't thought about before. If you're a complete beginner, you might learn about, really basic syntax you haven't seen before. But even for more advanced developers, you'll see things like, novel ways to solve problems. And you'll absorb another developer's way of thinking. It's almost like just getting someone else's perspective and having them, solve a problem with you by kind of getting their frame of reference and seeing how they approach things. And that always makes you stronger as a developer. And also, I want to say this. You want to pick the right code to look at. You want to find code that's really well written, because when you read through that, you'll see how professional, clean code is written. And you can basically just pick up on these things and absorb them by osmosis. And at the end of the day, of course, you do want to practice coding as a developer to get better. But I believe this way can help you get better faster, because you can watch what other people do and you can practice that yourself whenever you are coding. And probably one of the fastest ways to get good as a developer would be literally to have an expert over your shoulder, watching everything you're doing and pointing you towards things you don't understand and constantly giving you feedback while you're doing it. But this might be one of the next best things, right? So if instead you could just look at an expert's code that you could understand and kind of get inside their head and see how they solve problems, that's still going to be a valuable resource to have, even if you don't have direct access to this person. It'd be sort of like buying another expert's book, right? If you don't have direct access to that person, purchasing their book and just reading their thoughts is still really valuable. All right, so how do you do this to gain any kind of benefit? Well, that's exactly what I'm going to show you right now. I'm going to point you towards a really good resource for finding professional code that you can look at and read through. I'm going to read through it with you to kind of show you what this process looks like, how you can use it to your benefit, and ultimately become a better blockchain developer. So here's a really great resource for you to use. This is the Open Zeppelin library, which is basically just an open source collection of smart contracts that you can use inside your own applications. All right. So these contracts are, audited, and they're community vetted code, and you'll see how a lot of different people have thought through the same kinds of problems and solved them with code. And they're going to be good and secure to use in your own blockchain applications because they have been audited. So you can pick up on all kinds of great stuff by reading through these. So let's take an example. I would say if you want to figure out how to create a cryptocurrency or an ICO or any kind of really common use case on the blockchain, you could look at something like this. So if you go to the contracts directory, and go to and actually I'm gonna go to the home page and look at a previous release, because it looks like they haven't included all of them here. So I'm gonna go to the tags, go to version 2.5.0. All right, then I'm gonna go to contracts. Okay, so let's look at this smart contract, for example, right? This is the payment splitter, so you can find this inside the Open Zeppelin repository. So essentially what this smart contract does is accepts cryptocurrency payments, and it sends them to different payees or recipients, all right? So you can look inside of here, and if you're a total beginner, at first glance, you're gonna see, oh wow, this code is really organized, it looks nice, it has all these comments inside of there. So you're probably gonna be exposed to new things you may not have seen anywhere else, especially if you're a beginner, right? So even if you just look at these these comments inside the smart contracts, they actually mean something. Like, so when you see these, at title, at dev, these are actually meaningful comments that other interpreters can understand. So these are like developer notes, for example. You'll see like title is actually part of the special notes that are implemented for these smart contracts that other people can like parse and make notes out of, right? So part of it is really just getting inside of here and browsing around and finding new things that look new to you and trying to say, what is this? So for example, like you see a function here without a name. It just says function, external, payable. So what does all that mean? So I'll tell you what this is, but for yourself, like maybe you just like Google around and say, what does empty function in Solidity mean? And that would tell you what this means. And once you know that, maybe you can incorporate that into your own projects. So this is basically called the default function in Solidity, which means that if you send cryptocurrency to this smart contract, this function is going to get called, all right? And also, so in this case, like it says emit payment received, all right? And then, you see that this is an event here that tells the address who sent it and also how much, money came with the transaction. So like, if you look more into that, like, you may not know what MSG.value is. You could look that up. Basically, that's the cryptocurrency that's sent in with the transaction whenever you call this function. And so also, like, this is really strange. Why is message sender or MSG.sender abstracted into a function, right? So if you look on here, so actually it only doesn't even show it inside the smart contract. So it's probably inside like their safe math or context or something like that. And you might even ask around, like, why did they put that in a special function and not just inside the Solidity with the regular Solidity syntax like other smart contracts do? So you might be able to learn something by looking that kind of information up, right? Also, why is this function called payable, right? Why do some of the other functions not have this payable modifier on them? So there's all kinds of things you can learn just by asking questions. You sort of have to treat yourself like a detective when you get inside the code, and just ask around and try to look things up that you don't understand. So again, depending on your skill level and your experience, you might see new structures inside this programming language, like this for loop here. Maybe you have a different programming background and you understand loops. Well, this is how you do them inside of Solidity. And maybe, you don't know what a loop is. Maybe you just look that kind of thing up. So also inside of here, like, even if you understand all the basic programming fundamentals of Solidity, this is still a good contract to look at if you're an experienced programmer and want to know how to solve problems, right? So, this shows you how they think through splitting a payment, right? So you might have to see the limitations of what the blockchain is and how you could do this. Does the payment actually go to the smart contract and immediately get sent to the payees? Or is there, some sort of release like this? Like, how does it work? How do you onboard new payees? How do you handle multiple accounts like this? So there's all kinds of stuff that you can look at, whether you're a total beginner or you're experienced. All right, the next thing I'll say for beginners and experienced developers alike is that this repository is a gold mine if you want to figure out how to write tests for smart contracts, okay? So they did a really good job of like writing good tests with like modern JavaScript with Mocha and Chai. And you can pick up on all kinds of good practices on how to write tests for the blockchain. Like, how do you handle failures and things like that? So they have their special expect revert. You can see their different strategies for handling asynchronous actions on the blockchain. And you can also see how they just test for the results that they expect. All right, so I hope that helps get you started, right? This is how you can basically become a better developer without actually writing code, is to just read through other people's code and pretend like you're a detective and ask questions and learn new things. I think this is going to turn you on to like all kinds of new ideas or concepts that you haven't seen yet, especially if you're a beginner. And at the end of the day, yes, you do want to write code yourself to become a better developer, but this is going to help accelerate that process, right? If you're just writing code by yourself all the time without ever, getting better, without seeing new ideas, you won't get better as fast as if you're constantly exposed to new ideas and things you didn't understand before. All right, so I hope that helps. As always, if you like this video, click the like button down below, subscribe to the channel. And if you're serious about becoming a blockchain developer and want to take that next step, then head on over to dappuniversity.com/bootcamp. All right, until next time, thanks for watching Dapp University.